welcome. Thanks for joining us today. So a little bit about PractiTest, for those who may be a little unfamiliar. We were founded in 2008 as one of the first fully SaaS-based test management companies. At the time, most were really on-prem, and that raised some concerns about privacy and security and capabilities. Over the years, as testing evolved, PractiTest has evolved alongside with that by supporting both manual and automated testing. We incorporate industry standard privacy and security protocols to make sure that your data is as private and secure as possible. We've also evolved over the years into really an AI-driven test management company. We incorporate a number of AI features and capabilities to help you take the guesswork out of testing, focus on automation to save time and be more efficient. We're trusted by a number of global leaders across the spectrum of businesses, from retail to education, healthcare, government, publishing, and more. And we've become an established leader in the industry. Our customers trust our technology to help them deliver quality software faster and deliver high-quality products to their consumers. Ours is a very user-friendly platform, as you'll see momentarily. We put a lot of thought and planning into making sure that it is simple to use with a great interface and easy-to-use navigation. We get a lot of positive feedback from our customers as well. They really give us a lot of great feedback, and in terms of quickly implementing the technology for their companies, easy administration and high ROI, as well as world-class support, which we're happy to offer. For those who might be watching this later, this is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you're watching this at a later time or were unable to attend tonight, our next session will be on Wednesday, December 5th. Please join us for that as well. Okay, so a little bit about today's agenda. This is really all about you. We put the word out that we want to hear from you, your best hacks, your best tips, tried and true tips that you've got that help you get the most value out of PractiTest. We found over time that what works for you can be really helpful for other PractiTest users as well. So please feel free, raise your hand, ask a question, let us know what works really well for you that others can learn from as well. We'll also be covering a few points of interest, such as seamless test sharing, real-time data and commenting, email notification and alerts that help you stay informed in real time, and some tried and true reusability techniques within the platform. So as always, feel free to interrupt with any questions, give us any feedback. If there's a particular topic you'd like us to cover, please let us know as well. And we look forward to a great session today. Olga, you can now take over, and good luck, everyone.
Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you. So just allow me to share my screen here. And okay, so this should be on, and I'm going to turn off my video since this often causes havoc on my internet. So hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's open training session. I'm Olga from the customer success team, and with me I have Lee, who is our team lead. And as Helen mentioned, our focus today is on sharing some valuable tips and hacks to basically make your testing process smoother and help you navigate the myriad of all the daily tasks that come with this one. So we'll dive into exploring various notifications options to keep you in the loop. We're going to discuss how to effectively communicate with your teammates and actually safeguard those crucial conversations, as well as smart ways to reuse some the same test cases, managing filters, unpacking the different options which are available for the test sets and runs. So basically, we're talking about the execution level. We got quite a packed agenda, so I'm diving right in. Now, we do have some new users and some older users, so just to get everyone into the loop and make sure that we're on the same page, what you're seeing here on the left side of the screen are the 4 functional modules of PractiTest. The requirements module would be the place to record your different user stories, tasks, subtasks. Again, it's a matter of terminology. All of these are dimmed in PractiTest as requirements. And once these are ready, we move on to the test library, which is the place where you create and manage your different test cases. Once they are ready for the execution, we move on to the test sets and runs, which is the place where you group your test cases together by any attribute that is relevant for your testing process. This could be sprint, this could be version, this could be feature. Again, it's up to you to decide. And if you find any bugs, these will be recorded in the issues module. So the older users, yes, we can be integrated with bug trackers and different task managers, or you can actually use PractiTest as a standalone solution. It's up to you. But before I actually dive into the system, I do want to discuss the personal settings, and because basically even before you get to the system, the personal settings, and that is the small icon which has my initials on the bottom left side of the screen. And that is the place, well, you can actually do some things here. So my previous page, and that was a bit fast. I hope you noticed this one. This was basically showing a dashboard. Now, likely you will end up having several dashboard tabs. Okay, if you want to compare the different sprints or again the different versions based on the methodology you're using, you will have multiple tabs. The personal settings is the place where you can actually define which one of these dashboard tabs you're going to use as your default dashboard. And this is the place to actually define this. So I can select currently is my summary home, and I actually want to leave it this way. Another question we get asked quite often, and that is, can I use keyboard shortcuts? The answer, as you already can see here, yes, you can. All you need to do is go to the personal settings, make sure this checkbox is actually checked. And when you press the question mark, I'm actually using Mac, so it's Shift and question mark. I can get the different keyboard shortcuts displayed. So again, we do support this. You can use it. It's right under the personal settings. In addition, what you can do is, and that is the second option here, you can change your display name right over here, as well as choose an avatar for you. You can define your time zone, and if anybody is interested to know, we actually support Japanese and German as part of the platform. So for whomever is relevant, it's there. Now, aside from this part, and just let me go one step back, and I think this actually takes up the major part of the screen here, and that is notifications part. So I've heard the questions of, I'm getting too many notifications. How can I manage this? Or I'm not getting notifications. How can I manage this? Personal settings is the place to go to. So you can define to receive notification about specific changes or about any deletion here if you'd like. You can really check this out for yourself. Just be aware, if you are the person doing the change, obviously you will not get a notification because, well, you are the person to actually do this. Now, moving on from here, and I actually want to jump into the test library. Let's dive right here. So whenever creating a new test, and this is not really news, but for all of us, again, to be on the same page, we support 4 different test types. And you can actually see them when clicking on create a new test. So the scripted test cases for your manual efforts, the scripted ones which contain different test steps. So this one can be selected right here. For exploratory testing, basically, this one is centered for when you have specific basic guidelines and some kind of a test charter, and you can record any annotations on the fly. Okay, so you can if you find any bugs or just any notes, you will be able to record them during the run. BDD test type for any Gherkin language test cases. And the automated tests, well, basically this one refers to the different methods to bringing in the data of your automated runs. So if I'm to select this one, you will be able to see that we actually provide 3 different solutions to getting your automated results into PractiTest. The first and most flexible one would be the REST API. There is very detailed documentation on our website. Firecracker would be an XML parser. So if you're using any CI/CD tools and the outputs of your runs, the report you get in the end is in XML format, PractiTest will be able to pick this up and basically translate it to terminology that PractiTest understands. That is the test cases and the test sets with the actual results per each. Okay, and this happens with a single command. And the XBot, which is basically an execution engine if you are running any scripts which are executable from your machine. So that is per the different test types we support. Now, I don't really want to create a new test case. I do want to pick out a pre-made one. So just let me have it go here. We can do this one. Now, one of, and I think it's another frequently asked questions, and that is, I want to have the data. So many people enter the data in description. Okay, since obviously this would be the description to the test, but then arises the question of how can I display this data during a run? And for this specific cause, we do have the add test preconditions here. So basically, if you need this data visible for your testers, or again, if you're one of the testers, you're writing the tests, you can enter anything that is required for the execution level in the test preconditions field here. In addition, what you're seeing on this page are the different custom fields we have. And we mentioned this, I think, during most of our sessions, since custom fields is really the way how you manage data in PractiTest. These are basically labels which allow you to retrieve any entity in PractiTest. And by entity, I mean any requirement, any test case, any test set, or any issue by these specific labels, by these specific custom fields, which you assign to each test case in this case. Now, keep in mind that if you leave these fields without any values in them, basically when in a later stage you will be creating filter views, these filters won't be able to pick them up, to pick up these test cases. Because for now, if I leave my test level blank here, and then I'd like to retrieve all of my regression test cases, I simply will not be able to do this. So please do use these. And I can think of additional 2 use cases here, and that is many people open projects, and sometimes the projects come with demo data and demo custom fields, and they simply leave them to be. So if you don't need them, just delete them. And if there are old custom fields by which you don't, at the moment, you no longer categorize your data by, you can simply disable these fields. So the data will be kept, However, it will not be displayed. And the way to disable these fields, I actually have this open on another tab here, is basically go to the project settings, fields, click on the pencil icon here, and simply give it a moment. And once this page is up, just remove the checkboxes. Okay, so this way you do keep the data. However, it's not displayed on the entity you selected. Now, in addition, attachments. So I do often get questions such as, can I add an attachment per test case, per step? And the answer to both of these is yes. Okay, you can add attachments per the test level, or if we navigate to the steps tab right over here, you can actually add attachments per each step. So if there are specific instructions, specific screenshots you need to add for the testers, you can totally use the step level for this one. Now, going back one step, okay, and that would be the last part on this page, and that is the comments section. Okay, so I mentioned we'll be discussing how to effectively communicate. So, you know, we have so many platforms at this stage. There's Slack, there's email, there's WhatsApp, there are gazillion communication platforms. But basically, for PractiTest, you can simply mention any of your teammates and enter any comment you have. And once clicking on add a comment, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do this. And once clicking on add a comment, my colleague here will get a notification to her email along with the URL to click that will take her to this specific item. Now, so, and the comment section is really available on all the modules. Moreover, while we're at it, moreover, you will be able to add different comments on the steps level. So if you change a step, obviously this will be recorded on the history tab here. But if you want to raise the attention of any of your teammates to this one, just click on add comment, mention them, and they will get notified. Now, that is per the non-integrated projects, or, you know what, even for the integrated ones. However, if let's say you're currently working with Jira, and the relevant models here, I'm jumping a bit here, but the relevant models for the Jira integration would be the requirements and the issues, since these are the models that actually get the info from Jira. And I do want you to be aware of this one, the fact that comments are actually synced. So any developers you have, or project managers who are working on Jira solemnly, I can actually leave this comment, and this comment will be synced to Jira. Now, whenever my Jira user answers me back, this will be displayed in PractiTest. But that goes for the requirements and the issues module. Going back to the test library, so we pretty much had a general overview for this one, but I do want to talk about test reusability. Since reusability, it gets mentioned quite a lot, and I did want to provide concise answers to how do we actually manage this one. So first of all, each of your test cases, and Amelie is going to expand on this one when discussing the execution level, but basically each of the test cases can be reused in several test sets. Okay, since once adding a test case to a test set, it simply becomes a copy of the original. So there's for that part, but when writing a test case, and I'm back to the specific test, to the step, when writing a test, and let's say you have these 3-4 steps which are repeating over several test cases, such as open the browser, use the login name, enter password, go to this page. And these 4 steps are simply repeating over several tests. You can create these 4 steps as a separate test and then use call a test feature to call all of these 4 steps into any test that you'd like. Okay, so I don't actually remember test IDs, but I'm going to pick out randomly. And that is what it will look like on the test level. Okay, don't be afraid but for this one, since when we are discussing the execution level, on the run screen, you will actually be able to see all the different steps, step by step, taken from this test. Now, and another nice point here, let's say you update, so you're reusing the specific test in several other test cases, and then you need to update one of the steps. So once you update this original test, this change will be updated automatically in all of the different test cases that are calling the specific test. Okay, so that is another nice point to be aware of. If there's just a single step you'd like to copy, we do support this option as well, and that is for the button copy step here. So you will have to enter a test ID and a step number. Okay, so this one is supported as well. Now, no, I'm not going to do traceability. What I'm going to do is a new feature we just introduced, and that is the SmartFox AI Assistant. And this one is brand new, so I'm actually excited about this one. Okay, so it takes some minutes to load, and that is my time for a sip of water. So the SmartFox Assistant is basically meant to make your life a bit easier. Because let's say at the moment I would like, and I'm going to stick to the same example here, I would like to write a test to check my login feature. So let's have this, my login feature, and I would like, so all I need to provide for the SmartFox is the title and the description for my test case. And what it will do in return is write me, and that is ChatGPT based, and it will write me the different steps, okay, for this specific scenario. So what I would like to check is the valid, well, let's log in with valid credentials. And I want to save this one. And again, this is very, very generic. In terms of the description, obviously you can dive in deeper and you can set specific rules as per what you'd like to have here. But when I navigate to the steps tab and click on this one, and let's use the generate steps. It takes some moments. Almost there. Great. Okay, and you can see the output of this one. Okay, so it's quite nice. Okay, it's you can totally play with this for yourself and check which results you get, but it's a very nice thing to have here. Okay, and I actually got 5 steps here, which is quite nice, I must admit. So let's save this for the future. Now, another thing I'd like to mention here, and that is the traceability tab. And this one, it's more of a tip because so you can, whenever your requirements are ready, you can simply go to traceability tab for requirements, or equally the vice versa, to go to the traceability on the test cases level and link them to specific requirements. If I'm to click on the show requirements here, I would get a full list of the different requirements in the system. However, the ones of you who are importing their test cases, basically what you can do is you can have a separate column in your spreadsheet called linked requirements. And once the requirements are in PractiTest, all you'll need to do is to mention in the linked requirements column the system IDs of the different requirements. And this way, when importing test cases, basically you will do the traceability in one go along with import. Okay, so the system will do this, it will basically map the test cases to the requirements automatically. Okay, so I'm moving on. We're going to have time for questions later on. And the last part I wanted to discuss here is the filters usage. So I got my custom fields. All of them have values. What is next for me? I have 56 test cases, which is really not a lot. Eventually with time, I'm going to have hundreds of them. And I do want to break them down by certain filters. So whenever I click on create a new filter, do notice several parts. Or you know what? I'm going to take one step back since I missed another point I wanted to raise here. Now, before I actually create a new filter, I do want you to be aware of the fact, since again, this is a pretty common question, is can I customize the different columns in my main grid? And the answer is yes, you can. Okay, all of these, that the name, the automation status, automation due date, and so on, I can customize the fields I would like to see here. Now, this part is actually done. Let's go for the create a new filter and have this all in one go. So just notice the custom fields part here, which says available and displayed. Whichever field you would like to have displayed in your main grid, basically you just drag and drop this to the displayed column. Okay, so it's as easy as this. Going back to the filters, we support several types of filters. And notice this checkbox here. You can create a public filter, meaning all of your team will be able to see this, or I can simply unmark this and this filter will be visible only to me. Okay, so if I have some data I'd like to retrieve and it's not relevant for the rest of my team, I can totally create this as a private filter. Now, aside from this one, let's actually check out the autofilters option. And autofilters are fast and easy to use because let's say currently I have a certain custom field and let's take features as example. And well, although it's not the use case here, but if this custom field has 12 different values, I don't need to build any of this custom filters manually. Okay, basically what I be doing is selecting this custom field and using the create. Oh, I already got this. Okay, if I already have the specific filter, I will have the name is already taken, displayed here. But likely, yep. So if I'm going for the testing phase, basically with 2 clicks, I have a whole breakdown of the different test cases in my test library according to the different test phases. Now, and let's say, you know what? No, I'm going for the filters, for the features option now. Let's say currently I'm working on a specific feature. Okay, and that is my login feature. And I'm done. Okay, I'm done with managing and creating. These test cases are ready for execution. My next step would be picking them up and sending them to a test set. So what I can do from here is basically select all of the different test cases I have for my login feature. And I do want to select all of them. And I want to create a separate test set for them. Okay, and there's a button for this specific use case. So let's go for the login feature. And this actually takes us to the test sets and runs. And from this part, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Olga. I'm gonna take over and share my screen. Okay, and I'm actually gonna start by using the test set that Olga just created, which is the test set for login. And I'll start with a short introduction before I actually dive into the tips and tricks. Um, just a small introduction about data structure and how data, actually the hierarchy of data in PractiTest generally, because it's quite important to understand. So Olga went through the testing the test library, and this is actually the item from which everything stems from. So basically, when we create test sets, we gather a group of test cases from the library and use them to create a set or a suite. A set is basically those group of tests in the context in which we want to execute them um, for the purpose we want to execute them. Now, when we add test cases to a set, Olga mentioned earlier, we basically create a new item out of them, which is called the test instance. So the idea of the test instance is again to support test reusability, because basically we can add the same test case to multiple different test sets and every time execute it for a different purpose, but having to maintain only one version of the actual test in the library. So that's in a nutshell how it works. Now, each one of those instances, we can run again and again, basically creating test runs for them. So to create a new test run for, let me just actually use a filter before I actually start to run. So this is actually a topic I wanted to cover later, but every column here in my test instance grid will have the option or the ability to filter by it. So in this case, I only want to see my scripted test at the moment. So I'm just gonna activate the scripted test and I'm gonna apply the filter. And then I have only my scripted test displayed here. Now, I can also control the different columns and I have many different options here, but I'm not gonna show them yet. I'm gonna show them a bit later. And I want to start by saying that you can either start the execution of the entire set by clicking on the Run Now button here on the top right. This will basically start the execution of the set in the sequence in which you created it. Or you can decide to start execution for an individual instance by basically just clicking on Run next to this individual instance. So I'm going to use the second option now. And I'm just going to run one of my test instances here. When I do that, I'm being redirected to my run screen. So from here, I see the test information just as I defined it in the test library. I have the step name, the description, and the expected result on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have the actual result part and where I can actually populate my result. I can also attach evidence to each one of the steps. So in case in this case, let's say I open my browser, I went to the site, everything worked as planned. I'm gonna pass this individual step. But in the case which I have a failure and I want to attach the evidence to the failure, all I need to do is to drop the evidence here. Then I have a few options. If the issue is already created in my project, whether it be in Jira, if I work with an integrated project, or if it's in my PractiTest issues model, then I can use the link existing issue and basically just type in the issue ID of the issue that I found. Now, if I want to report a new issue, I have this fail an issue option over here, which will take me to, in this case, because it's an integrated project, it will take me to this window where I can decide the Jira project and where I want to report the issue. Description already contains the steps to reproduce. In this case, I'm not going to report the issue. there are a few more options that I want to show in the run screen. So the first option I want to show is this nice tab over here, a nice button over here. Basically, if the entire test is passed and I know it and I don't want to go each step individually, I can just click the pass all steps button over here, and this will set all the steps of my test to pass. So this can be a nice shortcut that can save you time if you already know that the test is passed and you don't want to go through each step individually and pass it. Now, another nice option that we have here, if you need to make changes to the test data and you realize that mid execution, what you can do is basically use the action option over here. So when I click this drop down over here, I can see that first of all, I can edit the step data of the actual step that I'm on, or I can add additional steps above or below. Now, when I'm making a change to step 0, start my computer. Not sure if I misspelled it. Anyway, when I add a new step or edit the step data, I can basically decide to apply it only to this specific run that I'm now in. But if I want this change to apply to all the future runs of this test, I have another option at the bottom of the screen, which is the update original test. Now, this option would basically mean that I'm updating the data on the actual test in the test library. And when I do that, all my past runs will still have the data that I had up to now. But from now on, every time I run this test, it will include the new beautiful step that I added here as step 0. A few more things here. So on the right-hand side over here, I have the go back to test in the test library option. And what it gives me is to basically view the information from the actual test in the test library. So a question that we often get is, how can I actually view the description of the test? And this is the best solution to do it. You can basically hover on this part over here, you can see the description quite easily and nicely, and all the different categories as well represented in the fields. On the left-hand side, you can see the actual breadcrumbs, and you can navigate quite easily from those breadcrumbs to upper higher hub in the hierarchy. So first of all, the next level would be the instance. From the instance screen, I can see all the historical test runs that was made from for this test instance, basically. So in this individual test set and in this individual instance, I can have many or multiple test runs, and each such test run would be represented in this table as a unique row, and I can see who was the person that ran it, what was the duration of the test run, and the status obviously as well. Was this a manual execution, or was this actually updated using an automatic method? And when was the run made? And if I want to view more information from the test run itself, I can click into the test run by basically clicking on the date. Now, when I click the test set breadcrumb, I'll be redirected back to my test set. From my test set, I can now see that I have like a summary of the execution that I made for this test instance. So I can see the test status here, can see the duration, can see when was the run made and who was the tester. And if I had any linked issues for this test instance, I would also see them linked here. Now, these columns that I have in this table, which we call the instance grid, are also customizable. So if I want to change or reorder some of these columns, I can just click on the columns here, and I can see all the different options that I have for selection. Now, another important point here that not everyone knows is that I can also use information from fields which are available in my test in the test library. So if I want to show information about features and I only have this information available in the test library, I can basically activate the test column feature field from over here. This will show for each one of my instances which feature does the parent test actually associated with. So that's also a nice and powerful tool. If I want this to be higher up in the view, I can just drag it up, and it's quite easy to do. Now, each one of those columns are also available for sorting by. So if I want to sort my test instance grid by the different testers, I can just click on this sorting option, and that will be the case. And regarding the filtering option here, I also already showed that. So let's say I actually want to get rid of some of these test instances that I have. I can basically decide to limit the scope of this or just show the test cases that I want to get rid of and select my entire view. And I can even actually make this view larger. So I want to include more than 10 test cases. I want to test instances. I want to include 40 or 100. And then I just select everything. And I have a few more options here. So the first option is to batch edit. Batch editing is available in all the modules, and I can basically use it to assign a bulk of entities. In this case, it's going to be instances with values for fields. But in this case, I just want to remove those instances. When I'm removing those from the test set, I'm not actually deleting them from the library. So they would continue to exist in the library. I'm just removing the actual instances that are in this individual test set. So I'm going to do that to make the test set a bit smaller. When I'm deleting something in the system, I always need to confirm it. Okay, now I can remove my filter. I guess it will take a second to delete. Okay, so another option that I want to show here is the fast run option. I already showed the option to pass all steps when you're in the test run. But what if you already know the status of the test without even going into the actual test run? So we created the option to actually create a fast run and just assign a test instance with a status for the last run. So if I want to assign all of these 3 test instances with the status pass, for example, I can just basically select them from the grid and do a fast run for them. From the step fast run screen, I can just select the status and click on run. So I can see that these 3 instances are now passed, and I can see that I was the tester as well. So this is a feature you need to approach with caution. Only if you're sure that this would be the status of the test, you would want to use that, but it is something that can save you time. Now, if I go into the instance, there is a reference there that this status was granted by a fast run. So in the run type here, I will see that this is actually a fast run, and it was created directly from this feature. And if I go to the actual test run, I will see that this is actually without steps. So I can see that this was actually just assigned with a status using the fast run. Now, another important topic is test set assignments, test set and instances assignment. In PractiTest, you have a few options of how you want to approach assignments in general. I can decide to have this assigned to a field, which is a system field, associated with my entire set. And then I can basically assign the entire set to either a person or a group. So if I want to assign it to me, I can just assign it to me by selecting me from this list. But if I want to assign it to myself and other people inside a certain group, I can also select the entire group, and all of this group will be notified that this is assigned to them. And basically, they will all be assigned to that. So this is the first option. In addition to that, there is also the option to assign individual instances to people. So if I decide that I want to have, for example, the entire test set assigned to a group, but then I want the individual instances assigned to individuals, then I can decide to apply the assign to field to my instances as well. Then I can just basically say, okay, instance, the test instance here, the login with international characters, I want to assign those to Olga. So I can just basically do a batch editing for those. And I can activate the assign to field and assign them to Olga. And now I can see that Olga is assigned with those. And if I want, I can, or if Olga wants, when she comes into this specific test set, if she only wants to see her own instances, she can filter by the assigned to column and just view her own instances. Okay, keeping in mind time, I just want to go a bit forward and back to the test sets and runs module. There is just one thing that I want to mention in the test sets and runs module, and this is the assign to me filter. So this is not actually a filter that is created by the system, but it's a very common filter that is being created in a lot of our customers' projects. Basically, this is a filter that can be created for the entire project, because we do have the option to use the current user option for the assign to field. What I mean by that is that we didn't cover it in this session, but when I'm creating filters, I can decide to just define a criteria for the filter, and everything that falls under this certain criteria will be displayed under the certain filter. So in this case, if I want to show all the test sets which are assigned to a certain user, I can do it by selecting the certain user. But I also have the option to do the same for the current user. So this is a public filter that will be available to everyone. But if I log in, I will only see the test sets which are assigned to me. And if Olga, for example, logs in, she will only see the test sets which are assigned to her. So this is a global filter that can actually help and apply to everyone. Okay, the last part or the last thing that I want to show is our landing page. I can always reach my landing page from the PractiTest logo on the left side of the screen. And this is basically the first screen that you will see when you log in. Now from this screen, I want to focus on just one area, and this is the assigned to me area. This is pretty much connected to what I just showed just now. From this area, I can see all the items which are assigned to me. So it can be test sets. In this case, it's mainly test sets, but it can also be instances, it can be tests, it can be issues. Everything which are assigned to me will be displayed under this area, which basically allows me to access all the items that I need to handle. In this case, it's pretty much a lot of items. So good luck to me. But yeah, this is generally how you can also access your workload. And also just one nice thing that you can also see here on the right hand side, you can also you can always get to our documentation. So from the get started link over here, you can get to our get started guides, which basically covers the entire workflow and the entire flow of the platform. And there are also the guided tours here. And for you, those of you who don't know that yet, we also have this chat widget over here on the bottom right of the screen, from which you can reach out to our support team. So from this widget over here, you can write a message. We now have an AI bot that actually picks up the message initially, but if he gets it wrong, we have an entire support team behind it that will take the chat in just a few minutes and will provide you answers, hopefully as fast as possible. Okay, so didn't stop to breathe, and I'm not sure if we have any questions up to now. Do we? Let's have a look.
No, we don't yet have questions. However, if ever anyone would like to ask, now would be the time. Okay, so that doesn't seem so.
Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. Hopefully you learned a few nice and new things. And thank you, Olga, for the great session.
Thank you, Emily. So have a great morning, day, or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.